renting of a car on your website. Is that something that you are perhaps planning in the context of what we are discussing with Ubers and the Olas?
And we are of course open to not only rent a car kind of a model. We are also looking at car sharing, car pooling, what Philip mentioned, because that's going to be the future of India, because the roads are hardly any and so congested, as we all know.
Right.
So we are of course looking at things like those. Second thing that we are focusing on right now is after sales. Companies like ours are focusing heavily on the after sales piece of it, enabling it through technology, and that's what our core focus is at this stage. You can renew insurance by pressing a button, or you can do anything through that app that we're going to give you.
Right. Philip, in the context of the fact that the customer is a bigger king, perhaps the emperor now in terms of the knowledge and the level of competition, so he or she has a lot more choices. So that means that the skill sets of the representative, let's say of BMW on the shop floor, will have to be that much more. A word on the skill sets?
To be honest, it's never enough, and it's a permanent development. The attrition, for example, the best a dealer can do is have a low attrition rate, and we have dealer principals who have really 0% attrition rate, and then they keep because of their management style, and then they keep their sales guys, their service advisors loyal, and send them to training, and they are motivated, and then you have the best basics for having a good level towards the customers. If you have permanently fluctuation, and then you have young salesmen who are 23 and they should sell a 7 Series for 90 lakh to a CEO, then you have a challenge. And this we have to avoid. Therefore, we have to make really permanent good training, bring them to the level that they can talk with the customers.
Rakesh, so what can OEMs then do in terms of training there? I mean, so are you seeing more and more OEMs training the employees on the dealership floor? Are you seeing that trend happening?
It's about building that relationship with the customer, understanding him, or her, and having those behavioral competencies around building relationships, managing relationships, all of that. It's not just about the transaction, it's about the experience, right? So I think we're seeing OEMs beginning to define these competencies and then do assessments of sales staff and service staff or customer-facing staff against these competencies to then identify what are the specific training or development interventions that are needed to then develop these competencies if there are gaps against the required level of skills that you need to be successful in the job.
Your experience, since your interface with customers is very limited, so what sort of challenge are you facing on this front?
The way I'm seeing it, a lot of OEMs are spending a lot of money on tools that they give to executives. So that maybe the executive is not that well trained, but he can give a virtual experience to the consumer right in front. And I'm seeing a lot more OEs investing money in tools like those, because you can never be sure that everybody is equally trained, because skill sets are different. But your technology can still do a job for you, at least partially, if not fully, in terms of explaining your car the way you want it to as a OE.
Right.
And I think a lot of money is being spent on that. A lot of manufacturers are now investing in apps for each car, and we recently built one app, and I was amazed to see the kind of response. It got like 100,000 plus downloads, a car app, and I was not even imagining. People ended up booking like 30,000 cars from that app. So that's how the world is changing.
So let's start concluding, gentlemen. Randy, you said till 2020 you do not see any dramatic sort of change as far as the automotive retailing is concerned, but beyond 2025, what are the challenges, and how does one make themselves attuned to those challenges?
I think I would summarize it by saying that it's again going to be around the customer experience, customer delight, but it's going to be from the lens of a full mobility type experience, and I think the winners over that term are going to be able to provide that full experience.
Philip, 2003-2007, you came up with a new focus on customer experience. Now you have a crystal ball in your hand. Predict 15 years down the line.
50 years is a little bit tough, but generally the classical dealer will be also the backbone in the future. It's important for him to do in the next years the basics right, and then in the next step really to modernize his dealer quality on international level. there will be in the long term a parallel system of classical one-brand dealer, multi-brand dealers, pop-up stores or mobile showrooms, some other element says it, and brand stores from the OEMs, so where they show just the brand, not selling cars, or show the brand. So this parallel system will come.
Amit, future of digitization, we are already sitting in the middle of it. How do you see this panning out?
The way I see digitalization, it's going to be a consumer experience that manufacturers will map out on when he needs what. And instead of him seeking out, if you can, seep into that phase right there, because you're actually, getting all the data about the car, about the consumer, what he's up to, how much is he driven. Digitalization should change the way consumer experience lives. And I think everybody of us is actually working, how does disruption happen? By changing the consumer experience, making it even better. And that's what I believe is going to happen as you move on.
Right. Rakesh, putting it to you slightly differently, traditionally we've seen the relationship between OEM and a dealership being completely one-sided. OEM had full control and authority over the dealerships. That sort of relationship, that unequal relationship, you think that is going to continue in light of whatever we've discussed?
I don't think the dealers are going to go away. They're definitely going to be there. But, for instance, in some brands in Europe and other markets, we're seeing, and with some of the newer products that are being launched, like electric vehicles, etc., that these need no longer be held at the dealers as inventory, right? You could have a central inventory of test drive vehicles that as a potential customer you could bring up on an app or order a test drive online. In terms of the dealer margin structure, I think that might change also. We're seeing some examples where dealers are now being compensated or being paid not at the point of sale of a vehicle, but along the sales process, along the sales funnel. So many qualified leads, you get a certain percentage of it. It doesn't mean the dealer margin is going up. It's just being distributed across the sales process rather than at the end of the sales process, right? So it's definitely going to have an implication on the after-sales side.
Right. Thank you so very much, Randy, Philip, Amit, and Rakesh. Thanks so very much. Thank you.
The vehicle design in the next 4-5 years is going to be extremely challenging for the designers because India is going to mandate the safety crash norms, followed by implementation of Bharat Stage 5 norms in 2019.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.